You're very intuitive about all that. So that's why I wanted to talk to you about this, because I feel like if anybody could tell me what to look for, it would be you. Because I feel like, do you spot them?
You can feel them. I don't know if you can really spot them.
I hated that. Oh my god. Okay, what do you mean you can feel them?
It's like you said, roller coaster. That's a perfect way to set it up, because it's almost like when you're around people like this, it's if you sense what I sense, I guess, about them, it's like a pit in your stomach. Like it's that feeling, but just from them being around. It's like they have no empathy. And I think that's a hard thing for people to actually fully understand, because most of us don't have this issue. So we feel for other people.
Yeah.
And we feel all day. I feel pissed off. I feel excited. I feel disappointed, whatever. They don't have any of that.
Ooh. That is terrifying.
Yeah. That's hence the, that feeling. Like, ugh.
Is that a mental disorder? What is it?
Technically speaking, a lot of clinicians like myself would call it antisocial personality disorder.
Hey everyone, it's Iris, and I am going to talk to you about antisocial personality disorder, which is my diagnosis.
So what are the bullet points, for example, like in a book, what would it say?
Sociopaths believe that the law doesn't apply to them, and the rules don't apply to them. They're above it, and they're so important to everybody else that they'll get away with it. Nobody will care.
I think you should know, while we were shooting the episode, I got arrested. Okay.
We're getting pulled over.
Oh my god.
He made me put my hands on the dashboard. Why? Am I threatening?
Then do you have your ID, ma'am?
I have a warrant out for my arrest, and he just pulled us over and let us all go.
So they always just think they're better, bigger, more important than everybody else. For instance, failure to conform to social norms with respect to lawful behavior. So they're usually
Getting into fights,
She ended up starting a full-on fight with Nikki.
stealing.
After stealing a tube of lip gloss, Megan Fox went on a crime spree at her local Walmart.
And it could go as far as murder.
Simpson arrested for the murder of his wife Nicole and her friend Ron Goldman.
But then deceitfulness, indicated by repeating lying, using aliases, conning others. So using anything they can to get their needs met. People aren't people, they're just tools to be used in their life for their game, whatever it is.
Okay. So to a sociopath, the world is a chess game.
Yes.
And all the pieces are people.
And they don't care about them, there's no empathy for them. Remember that. They're just tools. Can I use that to help me get what I want? So, for instance, people who would have antisocial personality disorder would be extremely rude to any help people. So they tend to be really quick and angry and irritable and push them off.
Leaders. So for example, if it was a YouTuber, they would.
Isn't that creepy? It's so creepy. It's
okay.
we're gonna have to take a shower after this.
Yeah.
Then they also are impulsive. So failure to plan ahead. They'll want to do things and then not do things on a whim. Which is what makes them a little dangerous. I always think impulsive is a dangerous thing for both them and the people around them,
That sounds... Well, but they don't have emotions, so they wouldn't cry.
They might if they thought it made them fit in or get what they want, because they're deceitful.
Okay. So sociopaths... So they don't have emotions. Do they pretend to have emotions?
Yes, because they'll mimic to fit in, to get people to be the tools that they need. They'll mimic behavior that they know will elicit the response they want.
Okay. So they're pretending to laugh. They're pretending to cry. Are they just kind of mimicking what they've seen in movies?
Yeah, movies. Reckless disregard for the safety of self or others. So they don't really care what happens to them. Because again, remember, they don't have any empathy. They don't have any feeling. They don't have feelings like we do in the same way. So they really don't care if something bad happens. Have consistent irresponsibility. They don't know what it's like to be responsible because they don't care about how that affects other people. Let's say they got kicked out of their house and that meant that all the people that live with them were kicked out too. They'd be like, whatever, I'll figure it out, because they don't care about themselves.
Okay. Well,
And then this is like the worst. This is the final one. But this last one is lack of remorse. So like, let's say they're being reckless and people get hurt. They don't give any shits about it.
Okay, so for example, if the YouTuber, try not to be too on the nose with this, but like,
if somebody got hurt during a prank or during a
You got
video
it.
or doing something for them, they wouldn't care. They don't feel bad. It's really gross. And it's just creepy. And the thing I think is hard for people who don't have this to understand is like, it's hard for us to view life without emotion or without caring. And that's what they live in. That's their experience.
So they're like, it's kind of like a robotic state of living, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they're kind of like a robot.
I saw an image when I Googled it, and it said that a sociopath is like, they're wearing a mask. And around certain people, they use a different one. Like around you, I'm going to be funny. Around you, I'm going to be sad. Around you, I'm going to be charming. Around you. But what's under the mask is the truth. Yeah. And that person is never seen.
No,
right?
I'd almost argue it like doesn't really exist. Because they don't really know who they are. Because their whole life is spent like manipulating others and mimicking behavior to fit in. So that's why there's different masks for different people, because you'll notice if you're around someone like this, when they're giving you like the heebie-jeebies, they do a lot of like, I don't know how else to describe it other than just being like a data detective. They're trying to get as much information about you as possible. The thing about YouTube is we put it out there so they can find it by just watching, if we're being honest. So they're going to be detectives, they're going to scrounge, they're going to get as much information as they can so they can create the right mask for you, so that they can manipulate to get what they want, because people aren't people, they're tools.
If you wanted to segue into like a big picture about like YouTubers, because that's got to say something about YouTubers and YouTube in general, because that, what you just described is like, that's like a playground for people like that, right?
Is that, that's like, YouTube is that. It is like their playground. If they have been watching YouTubers growing up, and now they're like, oh, I'm 18, I'm going to be a YouTuber. I'm going to use everything I learned. So do you think it is possible that a lot of YouTubers might be this?
They could be, or they could be narcissistic.
What's that? I mean, I know what it is, but not like the term.
Yeah, because narcissism is again, it's like born out of trauma usually, which kind of makes you feel bad for them a little bit, but like not that much, because they feel so fragile as a person that they put up like this wall that they're better than. They need a lot of attention. They want everybody to like them. They want to control everything and everybody else, so they tend to be really manipulative as well. So there is some overlap with this, but they do actually feel things. But they manipulate in the same way.
But they have a heart.
Yes.
Do sociopaths have a heart?
I don't believe so. They say 1 in 25.
I thought it was like 1 in 10,000 or something.
They make it seem like it's a really low percentage. It's a huge percentage of the population. It's the same as like schizophrenia or other mental illnesses that we know well and we see and we hear about. But even in school, they didn't really talk enough about this because it's icky. It's the dark side, essentially.
Why am I just learning?
Yeah, seriously.
This? Why is this something that nobody talks about? 1 in 25 is like a person in your class, or a person in my family for sure, or a person in my friend group, or like 100 people on YouTube or more.
Yeah, it's way more common. Once you kind of start paying attention to it, you can feel those people out.
Looking person, right? No, they're pretending to be nice.
Yeah, they're pretending, they're mimicking. I think in truth, it'd be someone who is really popular.
Simpson had an active social life and lots of friends.
And someone who always knows the right thing to say for some reason, no matter the situation. They're always really witty.
You know, I mean, I ordered a cake for myself. I'm not a monster.
I see. All right. So at least you had a cake.
Yeah, I'm not a sociopath.
Good. Yeah.
They're actually super intelligent, usually, because to manipulate takes a lot of intelligence. Imagine all the, like, detecting we have to do and, you know, searching for all those little bits about people that we can use to manipulate them. It takes a lot of effort. They probably have a lot of different relationships in their past. Like, they tend to bounce from friends to friends, because as soon as people start to see a chink, if they're not very good at manipulating, they'll move on to another group. Like, adults move a lot. not very far in a radius, but they'll move from like a city to another city so that the people who kind of figured out something was up aren't there anymore.
Do they have relationships?
Yeah, they do. They can even be married with kids. Whatever they think helps them fit in. Think about anything in life, owning a home, having a dog, getting married, having kids, whatever it may be. They're going to put up the best show that they can. And they're master manipulators. So they can manipulate people into thinking that they love them.
Because they're not losing anything.
Because they don't have any empathy. They don't care. People are tools. So if I need to get married or I need to be in a relationship, how do I make that happen? And they'll want to move quick, too. They'll, like, get to know you, and then they'll want to be your best friend, or they'll want to start dating, or then they'll start asking you to marry them, or they'll want to move in. Like, everything moves pretty quickly. Not crazy quick, because they're manipulators, but, like, just enough that you're like, ugh, and your friends and family be like, that's really fast, and I don't know them very well. And they won't let you see much of their life either. Like, usually they're hesitant to let people over to their house, or in their bedrooms, or parts of their space that they can't, like, completely make look a certain way.
But does that mean they don't even like me?
Possibly. I don't know if they know how to like people or love people.
Oh. See, here I go again. I'm like, that's so sad.
It is.
But is it sad? Because they don't think it's sad.
It's sad for you because it would affect you, but it doesn't affect them.
Because I just feel sad now. Because I'm like, okay, if it's 1 in 25 people, that's a lot. We all know one or multiple.
Yeah.
So then it's like that person is never going to experience like the joy of like having sex for the first time, or like getting your first car, or like going to an amusement. They don't like. That's sad. That's like a robot.
It is sad, but they don't know any different, and they don't really care. That's the thing. There's no empathy. It always goes back to that because it's like hard to be like, oh, that must be horrible for them. Right. And I'm sure if someone has some of the signs and symptoms but isn't fully engulfed in it, they might be really bummed and like try to fix it. But the amount of people I'd assume that fall into that category are very slim to none, especially if we don't catch it early enough, because it only gets worse.
What would happen if they went to therapy?
Oh God, that probably nothing. Whatever they wanted to happen, because they're manipulators. They're never going to tell me what's really going on or what they're worried about. They could potentially only get better at manipulating people. Because if they're given like more tools in therapy that we think are like being helpful, and you're actually, especially if it's like a couple, if you're sharing more about yourself, then you're giving them more information to utilize to manipulate you. I like to believe people can get better. That's why I do what I do, but I don't know if they can.
Could it get dangerous?
Definitely. Very much so. 15% of those in prison have antisocial personality disorder or are sociopaths.
Yeah, that was a quick reaction that she had.
Like the lack of emotion in his eyes and stuff is kind of creepy.